There's a mic here.
आइए, please come. I think all the governments in the recent past have been looking at the housing. Now we have got PMAY 2. Earlier to that, we had PMAY 1. And before that, we had the various Awas Yojanas, Indira Awas Yojana, Rajiv Awas Yojana. And as you all may be knowing, we had JNNURM, which also had a housing component called Rajiv Awas Yojana. At this point of time, we are finding that there is a shortage of around 1.8 to 1.9 crore houses as per the latest estimate, and there is a program to mitigate this particular shortage. Whenever we talk about housing shortage, land obviously crops up as the major constraint. The question is whether the land is in really a short supply, or is it a made up kind of a story that we do not have enough land.
Artificial.
Whether it is something like an artificial shortage. To tell you, to put the things in perspective, 1 hectare of land is 10,000 square meters. So even with an FSI of 2, only 2, you can build 20,000 square meters. And if you look at a good quality affordable house for EWS, 50 square meters is more than enough. So we can make, literally, in 20,000 square meters, we can make 400 houses per hectare. So if there is a shortage of 2 crore houses in the country, we will be needing, it's a simple math, we'll be needing not more than 50,000 hectares all over the country in the urban pockets. And as in the earlier session, Dr. Suresh had said that urban areas are the ones where the population, according to the old census, was around 5,000, 75% people in the non-agricultural area. So we have got many, maybe urban areas, around 4,444 kind of urban pockets in the country. So in those, you have got a requirement of only 50,000 hectares. Now you look at the land parcels that are available. We have got wastelands, but I don't want to talk about the wastelands, but I'll talk about the wasted lands, good land parcels which have not been used over the last 20 years and will not be put to any use for the next 20 years. Only central government undertakings have got 10 lakh acres lying unutilized. When you add, all the land parcels that are there with the state government undertakings or the others or the municipal corporations, you got humongous numbers. And to add to that, you got lands with various, temples, trusts, waqf boards, institutions, etc., etc. Land definitely is not in a short supply. So first of all, I would like to submit to you that we need to rethink whether land is really in short supply, whether land is really in shortage, or is it a kind of a myth, it is a kind of a narrative being built to benefit the vested interests. Believe me or not, land is literally like a bank in India. It is a sink, for all the surplus wealth. Most of it is, maybe illegitimate. It's a speculative tool for keeping on making money. And as a matter of fact, artificially high prices, escalating prices is the biggest bane that our country is facing. Believe me or not, if that is corrected and people start thinking of many other activities than investment in land, we would be seeing value generation, we will see huge amount of economic activity, and we'll see GDP growth, which can be probably double of what we are seeing. So I would like to stop at that because we have got Mr. Srinu Raju. He is from the US. He has been maybe thinking about urban reforms, urban land reforms for a long time. And I would like him to make a presentation on whatever he has seen world over in the urban spaces. He is, of course, not a planner. He is not, maybe somebody who's like an architect or connected with this, but out of his sheer passion and interest, he has written books on what can India achieve through proper urban land reforms. So I'll first give it to Mr. Srinu Raju, and thereafter I will maybe, of course, like other people to join in. We have got Professor Jiju here from Kerala. He's on the planning board there. He was in Kerala Agricultural University. Jayashree Kurupji, you are all familiar with. She is an independent consultant, a researcher, and obviously one of the thought leaders in this space. And Professor Yatin Pandya is an architect, by training, and obviously he has been connected with holistic urban development, planning, architecture for over maybe 35 years. He has been teaching at SEPT University. He has written maybe 30 or 40 books, and it will be a pleasure to know his viewpoint, because he's also connected to the affordable housing. Nivedita ji is there, and as you know very well, she is the advisor to Landstack, to ILDC. And I would now straight away go to Mr. Shinu Raju, and he'll take around 12 to 15 minutes, but very thought-provoking kind of, I guess, say presentation that we expect him to make. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar, everyone. I wrote a book about this. That's why my email is called srinuraju.book@gmail.com. Please send an email to me, so I will send you all this PowerPoint. You don't have to take all the notes. Just listen to it. Okay. So essentially, right now, urban land in India is trading for approximately 2,000 times the per capita income of an average person. Right? Land is like 50 crore or something like that per acre. And an average person in India only makes 3 lakhs per annum. Whereas in America, it is hard to find land. If you give me 1 crore and tell me to buy land costing more than 1 crore, I have to travel a lot. 99.7% of America has land trading at few lakhs to below 1 crore. Okay? So how is this happening? Why are they so smart? This is all to do with the laws. Okay, the laws like the parliamentary legislation. So what we'll do, what I'll show you briefly is, 20 years ago, in year 2000, land prices used to be 0.2 crore. You know that. By year 2008, they went to 4 crore, which is justified because at that time we did not have the infrastructure. Ever since then, we built so many highways. Gadkari built so many highways. What Americans took 40 years, Gadkari built in 9 years. But it opened up all the land, all the rich people are holding that land. So that 4 crore to 40 crore should never have happened. The land prices should have reverted back. When you increase supply, what happens to anything, right, in economics? So when you increase the supply of bandwidth, what happened to your telephone? You used to pay $2 a minute, 2 rupees a minute to make a phone call. Now you are paying practically zero because Mukesh Ambani increased the bandwidth, and you are making a video call which didn't even exist. So Modi ji invested 2,000 billions and still in the infrastructure, and still the land prices are going up. But Mukesh Ambani solved the entire digital India problem for you and made everything affordable, practically free to make even a video call. So now India is at the cusp of exceeding America. So there is no country left which has more roads than India. Right now, almost by December, they will cross USA. We already crossed China. So if we didn't have land before, I have no problem. Before 2008, land prices should have gone up. They went up. What happened after that is ridiculous. So still we are building 10 new cities in the Modi's 3 term, and we are also currently building 10,200 new towns and townships, like Jayashree just told me yesterday, according to the government. So right now in the world, Delhi, Hyderabad, and Beijing are the world's 3 largest metroplexes, okay, as bound by a ring road. So, there is no American city, no European city in that list. They come next. So despite having that, right now in Hyderabad Metro, they have 1 acre per family of land available because there are 18 lakh families, 18 lakh acres and only 21 lakh families, about 1 acre of land available per family. 90% of the new land is not used. 95% of the old Hyderabad is still being used. Whereas an apartment in Hyderabad that only uses 1.2 cents of land is costing 1 crore plus. A school teacher cannot buy anymore. So the problem is, even though you have more land, no American city has as much land as you have in your metro. Still, Americans are living in homes like that, which are 4,000 square feet homes. These are the homes of the plumbers, school teachers. These are normal people. So look at those beautiful houses, 4,000 square feet, and none of them have the land you have. So why are they living like that? Which means we must be doing something wrong. So that house there is 4 years income for a school teacher and a husband doing like another school teacher, maybe two school teachers in a house. That house is 3 years income. That has half another 3 years, 4 years income. Those houses sit on half an acre of land. Your typical apartment here is using 1.2 cents of land. So I was talking to Dangaya sir, he wasn't convinced. And I told him on all this data, he said, I need to see live data. Okay, I took him to live data and I told him I'll show you this happening, but I'll show you the static pictures of that live data. I told him United States prices are 1 crore, Mumbai is like 70 crore, 100 crore, whatever, right? So I took him, so first of all, 97% of land in America is rural, and that has land costing like 2 or 3 lakhs per acre. 3% is urban. That is where we're going to focus on it, because we're talking urban. 3% land is supporting 80% of the population. So when you go there, in that 3%, what happens is 0.1% is the famous places like Hollywood, Manhattan, Silicon Valley. Okay, their land prices are like Indian land prices. The next 0.4% are basically like a little bit like 2 or 3 crores per acre. The next 2.5%, the middle American towns, are these towns like Nanded in Maharashtra, Navsari in Gujarat. Navsari land prices are like 30-40 crores per acre. Or Lubbock, Texas is the 10th largest city in where I live. Navsari is the 10th largest city in Gujarat. Okay, so let's go to Lubbock, Texas, because that's where I studied. So I went to this is the other 2.5% normal towns where these land prices are I'm showing. That is my university. So my professors make probably $200,000, $150,000. So we went around and looked for plots. So if you go for each plot, it tells you $253,000 is 23-acre plot. Okay? Translation, 0.1 crore per acre for the first top picture. I have all the details. I will send you all these pictures. So in the bottom plot, 0.35 crore per acre, all converted to the Indian rupees. And these were I was showing him in the live website. Next plots, 0.08 crore per acre. This is the home of Texas Tech University, where the dean of the Texas Tech University, if he wants to living in the poshest area, he cannot buy land for more than 0.8 crore per acre. Okay, that is the poshest community in the town, and the land with all the roads developed is available for as little as. Okay, so the next town we went to this is where Wright brothers made their plane. This is where Thomas Edison grew up. This is where Neil Armstrong grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Again, land prices are 1 crore, 0.8 crore, 0.5 crore. So across America, every price is below. I cannot buy that land in my village, on the other extreme end of my village. Okay, so Las Vegas, 2 crore per acre. So again, like I said, Manhattan, they have similar to Indian prices, but this is not most of America. 99% of 9% of America is like what I'm showing you. So we went to a state capital where Microsoft was founded, and Amazon's founder Jeff Bezos grew up there. So again, we couldn't find anything. The highest we can find is 0.6 crore per acre. In a gated community with all the roads laid, that's the most costliest land. So again, because land is so cheap, most states in America, they show you how much an average home is sold using. So many homes are using up to 1 acre, as you can see. Where I live, I saw 0.23 acres. An average, a richer person, average means like a school teacher. So he said, what about the rest of the country? So we went to a global tour using Tesla's data. Tesla went to different countries. So they went to Texas, where I live, and he bought land for 40 lakhs per acre. He bought 2,000 acres, right? He went to Germany, 50 lakhs per acre. I gave you the headlines so you can read the entire Google link by using the headlines. Okay? China, he bought for 5 crore per acre. So India, if he comes, okay, he will buy for 40 crore, 30 crore, whatever number, right? So if you take all that, so in America, a person has to work less than 1 year to buy an acre of land just using Tesla data. In Germany, 1.3 years, which is not bad. China, 20 to 60 years, depending on where you buy. In India, you have to work 1,500 years to buy an acre of land. Okay, this is how ridiculous it is. All we want to cut is, we want to reduce that 1,500 to 150. So meaning 40 crore, make it 4 crore. Your life will completely change, all professionals' life, your mortgage payment, everything will go through the, completely, drastically change if you do that. But the question is, what do they do that we are not doing? Remind me when we come to that in a minute. Okay, good. Okay, what do they do? That's the point, right? So now you see there is no land available. It's very difficult to buy more than 1 crore, if you give me, okay? So given that, even in Germany, America, Netherlands, everywhere. So in America, if I buy land for 10 crores, I have to pay an annual tax of 2.8% annually to keep it empty. Because the government is saying if you build a hospital there, I'm getting GST out of it. I'm getting employment provident fund of it. I am getting income taxes. Okay, what you are doing is creating a slum. When you hold land, what are you doing for me? You're creating a slum. So they have this policy for 100 years. So I buy for 10 crore, okay, 28 lakhs. Where do I get 28 lakhs from if I don't use it? Okay, I'm getting tired of it. After 2 years, I say, you know what, let me build on half of it. In the other half, I'm making some rent or sell the apartment. Because I still have to pay 2.8% on the rest of the land. So eventually what happens is land gets utilized. So if the land price doubles to 20 crore after 10 years, then my land tax goes to 56 lakhs per annum, right? Because it's based on 2.8. So anything like 2% will solve this problem, and this is being followed in 100 countries. And at this point, I'll tell you, I went and sat in the room of Dr. Bibek Debray, Prime Minister's advisor, okay? And he died last week. You all know more than him at this point of the presentation. They didn't know one bit of this, right, when I told them. Really, I mean, we cannot make it. This is ridiculous. How ridiculous is it to have 1,500 times the per capita income of a, it's not like you don't know this. Okay, anyway, so you know more about than all the Niti Aayog people combined. I can tell you, he used to sit in the Niti Aayog office. Really, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. Okay, the second model, the first model, 2.8%, 2.2% is followed in 100 countries, Japan, everywhere. The second model in China, all land is owned by government. So what they do is they give you a lease. So I can take a 70-year lease on urban land. I say I want to build apartments, they give me I pay 10 crore per acre or whatever. So they give me a lease. So I generally build in 2 years and say to the apartment guy, hey man, you have 68 years to enjoy this. After that, you talk to the government because the lease ends on the land. The apartment sits there, but the land goes back to the government after 70 years. So let's say I don't build for 10 years. Nobody wants to buy the apartment I own because then I only have 58 years lease left. So then I go back to the government and say, you know what, I don't want to build on it. I don't want to keep it. I give back to you. And I give back to you, they take the profit. They take the original price, final price. If I appreciated the land by 200%, they take 60% tax. Okay? So capital gains in India is fixed 20%. But if you are transacting 100 crore worth of land, you are only showing 15 crore in the actual records. When you make a salary, all the salaried people here, when you make a salary, they are taking 40% out. You never get to see that paycheck. For the landholder who is creating slums, they have a special discount. Really. So you are claiming 20% capital gains, claiming 15 crore registration value on 100 crore worth of property, and this is all well known. This is all public data, okay? So, for example, what happens if you fix this? So if you fix this, take any common man like you, let's say you're buying an apartment for 1 crore. So that land prices fall from 40 crore to 4 crore, which is still the highest land price in the world, okay, at that point. So what happens is, in your apartment of 1 crore today, 60 lakhs is land price. If you crash that by 90%, only 6 lakhs will be left on the land price. 40 lakhs for construction is fine. Okay, construction pays the labor, it pays the cement guy, the steel guy. This is all good for the economy. That's all white line. 5 minutes, yes. Okay, so your 1 crore apartment falls to 0.1 crore. Sorry, 0.5 crore, half crore approximately, right? House price goes by half. But here is the next part. If you punish the landholder, what does he do with the money? He will put it in the bank. In China, the total bank deposits is 30 trillion. In India, it is 1 trillion. In other words, there is a reward to keep black money in India. There is no black money. They take your land back. You can, if you don't utilize after 10 years, nobody buys the apartment on that. That land is useless if you don't build on it because of the 70-year lease. So now, so if you implement what I'm talking about, white money goes up, black money goes down, more construction happens. So now, whoever is buying a 1 crore apartment, he saved up probably 20 lakhs, right? Something like that. So now he used to go to the bank and ask for an 80 lakh loan. Now if the same apartment is 46 lakhs, he will ask 46 lakh loan. So the bank can give three guys the same money, but they have more money because the landholder is putting his deposit. See, both sides of the things are moving now. So once you do that, your EMI payment will go 75% down because your land price went down and your interest rate went down because I locked in my current interest rate in America is 2.7%. They gave me a 30-year loan. I just asked myself, am I going to even live 30 years? I only took this loan 2 years ago. But they give you because the banks have the money. They can't just put it in land and keep it and just continue to create slums. So if you fix this, India's cement consumption will go up 9x, as you can see. There is India and China. And steel, so approximately 500%. So you create that many jobs. There is no need to build all these poor people's houses or anything. When house prices fall, your mortgage rates fall 75%. People build their own homes. Okay, if you do that, there is almost 5 million restaurants because to start a restaurant you need ground floor space. You can't start a restaurant in the 17th floor, right? So again, 5 million restaurants will be created if you follow China. Number of hotel rooms in global cities. See, New Delhi is number 19. There are 10 Chinese cities with more rooms. The Pune of China has double the number of rooms compared to Delhi of ours. You can see all the data in the presentation anyway. So what happens is the vacant land value in India is approximately 175 trillion. Our GDP is 5 trillion. So if you punish this, some of the money goes to banks. The other some of the money will go to stock market, right? So when the stock market goes up, all the good guys who are doing the good thing in America, they are only worth 5 trillion now. So this you will increase, you will create the Googles of India. Okay, so once you fix that, you basically whiten the economy. This is a problem. I'm not pulling this data. This is all publicly available data. 2 minutes, okay? So what happens is if you buy, like your apartment EMI is far less now, right? Like my EMI in America actually compared to my paycheck, it's nothing. So China did all these reforms. They built 10x more cars in 2018. They made 33 million cars. We made 3 million cars, right? So I'll wrap up in 2 minutes. So what happens is, because they collect the land tax, they reduced the car taxes to 5%. You can buy any car in China. I paid for my Skoda 70% tax when I bought in Vijayawada. It's a diesel car, 70% tax. In China, any car up to 30 lakhs, 5%. So that's how you make more cars. Tax is gone, and you have more income from the housing side. So what happens? Again, to build the car factory, their EMI also falls 70%. In other words, you can build 4 car factories for Mahindra with the same cost as before, right? Because everything is down. So next, because they collect the tax, the GST taxes in Singapore are 7% because they collect the other tax that we are not collecting. So all GST rates in China are half, exactly half. See, when you have a new tax, 1 minute, right? You see how the economy will be transformed? So everything in India is there. If you screw the country, create the slums, kill the jobs, you are giving you Bharat Ratna. Everybody honest is founded. I mean, this is really there. Okay, jobs, China eliminated jobs below 12 lakhs per annum. This is not for people here, this is for sweepers and cleaners. Okay, there is no job in China paying below 12 lakhs per annum if you sweep the roads. I mean, for professional people, more like 30 lakhs. Okay, so again, if you Sundar Pichai and Satya Nadella put together control more 5 trillion of market cap, 1.4 trillion Indians control less than that, the entire market. Okay? So,
Good. Thank you very much.
thank you, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, very nice. Here.
You could manage it without the mic. So thank you very much for a very thought-provoking and very revolutionary. I remember him sending me a kind of a message that in Japan, after say the bubble burst, the real estate prices crashed by as much as 90 or 95%, and I did not believe it to be true. Then he sent me all the proofs how in Japan land prices had created a huge bubble, which after crashing came down by 90 to 95%. And that is something, which is very well documented. Well, after this, the particular thing, I guess, we'll have many questions to ask. I would now switch to, Mr. Jatin Pandya. Are you ready with your presentation, sir? Or if you are going to get ready, then I'll ask, Jayashree ji, to share her thoughts on this particular vital subject. As I told you, she is, a thought leader in this area and advises government on many policies and programs. So over to you.
Yeah. No, you can carry on. Doesn't matter.
If you are ready, then you can go ahead. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. No, you've already introduced. Hello. Yeah. Namaskar. Indeed honored and humbled to be in this august gathering. What I hope to do, I'm an architect by profession, and what I've put together is that what through the different angles of, let's say, I mean, the title says it somewhat, massing the houses for housing the masses. So what ways can we optimize the resources and therefore find a surplus? So coming from Ahmedabad, I'm trying to cut corners and find something out of it. So happy to share some points of view. We see these paradoxes, and there are many things implied here. I mean, arguably, we're talking about delivery system and therefore shortages. There are three major things we need to look back, meaning take few steps backward. One is the definition. There was a time where United Nations definition of a slum, whole Shahjahanabad of Delhi would have been considered to be a slum. And then we say it's a non-livable housing. So we need to check our definition of what is livable and not right housing. Second one is that people created their own houses. It's like one agency doing 1,000 houses or million houses versus million people doing their one house each. And what kind of thing would that make a difference as? And arguably quantity versus quality, that whole paradox that comes in when we say it's affordable housing, etc. Like picture on the left comes across as a home that creates neighborhood or community and comes as a living environment, while the other one is a delivery system with density, numbers, and production game. We were in this mission of smart. I think no dictionary would call smart a dumb, but somewhere on the line, I think we lost a little bit of priority in terms of whether it's imageability and important, livability, equitability, accessibility, or even affordability, This is the kind of built environment that we went after, just to put the names, any name from anywhere you put it, and that's how all over the world it comes across. When in India, I don't think we are anyway different. The model that we picked. So the question was that are there these kinds of living environments possible or not? Which Kerala is appropriate? Which Jaipur should we be looking at? Which Kolkata should we be promoting? And that's where, especially when it comes to the affordable housing, the whole scenario and the kind of question that it leads to, that was those methods of doing things wrong that we went to something else, or we need to pause, ponder. And I would say post-corona, because, the history, I think, should be written rather than AD and BC. It should be before corona and after corona, BC and AC, because I think we learned the new norms of even living multiple use of space, optimizing on things, etc., and prioritizing what was more important. So with that kind of a lens, if we look at it, what sort of tendencies we find, and this whole paradox of quality versus quantity, we have figures, staggering figures, etc., but there is positive response. How can we go about? First of all, the idea of growth, we get all bombarded with lots of figures, and it says that, okay, we are going to be doomed is this a new phenomena or it's been happening all along? And there's a nice kind of a book which says major cities 100 years apart, photographed from the same point. And you see this Hong Kong and what it was 100 years ago and what it is now. The point is that if you value land, if you value resources, if you value something like previous session, we're talking about the public resources, there is still an answer that without consuming it, we can still build and build more. I mean, whether it should be vertical is a different question that I'll address. Same thing with New York. Nobody, I think no government, Trump or Ms. Kamala is going to talk about Battery Park or a green, Central Park to be taken away. So spaces or land has always been a constraint, and yet things have happened and has accommodated the growth. There have been strategies that have come about. This is an interesting picture, a kind of a terracotta tablet from 2nd century BC, Jataka illustration. What it shows is that where there were enough land, less people, still land was a valuable resource. What it shows is that as much gold that you can spread is the amount of land that you can own, because it was a renewable, cultivable resource. And even therefore, in the first set of civilization, we built very compactly, leaving land for other uses. So building or living was a passive purpose. So 3 sides shared deep, and if you see these densities, they are the encouraging ones. Same thing continued with Middle Ages, that because of defense, we built very compactly and still did not consume the amount of land. This is Dubrovnik, one of the World Heritage Sites, and comparison is what I'm trying to talk about, that with one hand we say shortages of land. This is actually 5,000 inhabitants, medieval, self-sustaining, with all infrastructure kind of a city. If you overlay that with just simply a cloverleaf intersection of American or our now Indian Expressway, which takes 40 acres of land, exactly the same as a sustainable city, So we don't question where we consume the land. And that land of cloverleaf is simply a luxury of not slowing down vehicle from 100 kilometers an hour kind of a speed. If you're willing to stop and turn, this would not be required. So we don't question where we use the land. For example, public transport and what amount of land would it save, and many other problems. So where can we optimize this land? First of all, what stock that we have. Look at this, China and as many lanes, 24-lane highway, and still it's congested. What I'm trying to put across is that we've never questioned a place for a car on a public area, and that land is free for us, as against same area of somebody's house with one room and a kitchen is a problem for us. So it's a question of priority, that what do we prioritize? Somebody having 10 cars and we provide for that versus we had, again, the traditional wisdom. This right here in Ahmedabad, 6th largest city. Early morning, a public square is a cow grazing ground. The same in the afternoon is a business district, and same in the evening is an outdoor eatery. So again, the lesson of learning of multiple use of space. Terraces, even in Mumbai, we talk of shortages, but we don't think about the kind of resource that we have. And this is not just the terrace, it's also about the sky, rights, so to say. One of the professors we were discussing with that now we have metro. And Bombay has shown us that next to this kind of infrastructure, the movement infrastructure, people have built such nice mezzanines and things like that to live. Could this belt under the metro not be available for housing with a very nice designs, etc., the sky housing, which is what is there as a unique kind of proposition in Amsterdam or in Netherlands as a bridge housing, etc. So more important point is that, and it's not the money, it's the mindset. You can see this Ballard Estate, most expensive real estate, as Professor said, that more than the US transferred from even euro or dollar to rupee. Look at that attitude that you have a pipe over the window, which means that I have nothing to do with the back. So with such a shortage, even a parking space not available there, that's all relegated as a no man's land and therefore abused and unused. As against even in a slum with just a dignified plinth and a shaded area, it becomes a nice group collective space, So it's the kind of a way that we give that attitude. That's where, coming from my field, I'm trying to focus on the typology and the design constituents with which we can optimize or we can provide. This is Mr. Corbusier's sketch that showed that this kind of a sprawl, urban sprawl, could be contained into something like that as urban housing, so to say. And this is one, I mean, out of several research studies we had done, we had sort of shown that actually 2.6 FSI was always possible. That's why I referred to the examples from the past. And it's still possible without affecting each floor getting the open space within 5 floors, which is considered a walk-up apartment, which means it doesn't need more energy-based kind of services, et cetera, and every floor getting the terrace as an outdoor extension. When you go up, you're losing the contact with ground. So both quality and quantity. And this is a simulation, this simulation can be done same for 2.5 FSI. The left and the right are exactly the same. Unfortunately, we are building something like right, which was always accommodated in something as the left. And just the proof is Ahmedabad, again, given the heritage status. And these are 2.6 FSI examples of old city lived in even today and with even the heritage status. So the way we built is that deep long houses, 3-side shared, and that did not leave undue margin spaces. 66%, 2/3 of your land parcel was available to build. 1/3 went into road infrastructure and amenities. Also this example, and that's where I talk about typology, that look at this 70 feet by 70 feet as a hypothetical figure of a plot and 10-foot margin all around as an apartment or as a standing alone building takes 50% of built up and 50% of for 4,900 versus 2,500. So 50% of land is gone as margin, but good for nothing. You can't plant tree, you can't have trees, partying there, you can't have car parked there. Turn it around. Use the outer ring. Same 50%, but now you have 9 trees possible, 5 cars or 6 cars available, 50 people or more than that, partying there. And that is the kind of build form we find here in Ahmedabad. One side we see the slum, and the other side the typical madas or the chawls that we used to find. And they again have very high FSI and with a good courtyard, which also socially created a nice neighborhood. So even with the typology with which we build, there's a study about this redevelopment, and then they say that if they had to match the same density, and yes, of course, some for commercial gain, they would need to go from 20 to 40-story tall buildings. So the idea that high-rise is the high density is wrong, and it does not necessarily match with the kind of people, lifestyle, etc. So again, going back to the kind of wisdom of perimeter plan, everybody getting the access to open space. And is therefore a slum a culprit or perhaps a solution, For example, of the Mumbai's population of 2.2 crores, 90 lakhs are the slum, people. And there are different reports that say 40 to 50%, half the city live in a slum. But interestingly, we're talking of land. The land that they occupy, as major studies says 8%, but one study says 20%. So I'm still sailing with that. 8 to 20% of the land occupied to house 50% of Mumbai's population. And we think that's a problem, while therefore the other way around, 92% of the land goes for another 50%, And again, the kind of proportion, and therefore it's what it has shown to be able to accommodate 1.33 is the current FSI with only 1, 2, 3-story structures. And if you just double up, we'll open up that. We don't say that they live in the squalid condition. But as I said, with typology, we'll be able to kind of double that density without having to kind of go even skyscraper or high-rise and be part of that. Yeah. So of that, population of Dharavi, actually 1/4 is already employed, and the turnover is amazing. 80 billion rupees is the kind of turnover that they produce. So what could be the kind of possibilities? Like one is, can we keep minimum standard as well as the maximum standard for the area that you can build. And same way, minimum density that you need to have for any development, duplication of amenities, that's been unduly kind of coming up, that do I need swimming pool for every house? Typology, both quality and quantity. This was 1967 prefab kind of housing done in Canada. I'm not saying that we take that up, but what I'm trying to say is that therefore design and technology, which it caters to this, building bylaws, as I showed, that side margin takes away a lot of land and we don't unnecessarily have to have. That's why in many other cities of India, they're able to do with smaller plots, 150 square meter, and bank officer can build a house. As against in Ahmedabad, we have 400 square meter plot and we still build the same house because we leave a lot of space out because of the margin, mixed use development, etc. And this is the last one, just to show that we're involved in putting 80,000 people after 20 years growth in 86 hectare land, but qualitative versus quantitative difference, and this was with cross subsidy. So urban poor were housed into this area where 1/3 was given to the more affording one. They paid the market price, and that was subsidizing the poor with all other amenities. And top left slide versus the bottom right slide, you can see qualitative difference with the same density, etc. So I think those numbers are not the problem. It's just understanding what is appropriate and right. And that's why getting into all other dimensions of social fabric, economic, ecology, etc., I think there is a positive sort of a signal. So I very strongly believe that you can empower through design. The goal has to be to improve the quality of life. But to do that, rather than giving Gandhian currency the value, we might want to make Gandhian value itself the currency. We have had traditional wisdom. Looking at that and probably contemporaneizing that is an answer. So inspire from yesterday, aspire for tomorrow. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you very much, Yatin Bhai. You have given us a new perspective, and which is going to be very appropriate for us to consider. Now we move over to Jayashree ji, and as I said, she is a thought leader in this space, and she has been doing consulting, running her own company. But I'm sure she would be able to talk about the demand, which is coming from the different maybe cities, which could be for permanent housing, or which could be for owned housing, rental housing, etc., etc. She has got a lot of things to say about that. Over to Jayashree.
So I have been working in urban housing for the last 15 or 20 years. I was with Magic Bricks, so that was one area where I could use the data from the back end. When you ask somebody to fill a form, they will probably fudge the data. But when you search yourself, you can't fudge the data. You're looking for it for yourself. And that search gave me a lot of insight into what people actually wanted. So, the thing was that people always wanted a little more than what they could afford. When you search for a house, they would first say, okay, can I get this big a house? Maybe you can't because it's too expensive. Then you would scale it down and say, can I find this one? So, and if that typology was not in the market, people did not look for it, which meant that people actually know what's in the market, what's best for them, and they will try and look for what is the most appropriate. But what really happened was there were a lot of people who were searching for houses that were not in the market. They would do that first search, and it was not in the market. So why wasn't it in the market? Because the bulk of, in the last, since 1998, when the first housing and habitat policy came, and then we allowed the private sector to start building for us, the private sector is in it for profit. And the private sector will make sure that they make money out of it, which is not a bad thing. They are there for profit. But we had to somehow bring the social angle into it so that the private sector, and we did it very well in 2005 to 2012. There was a Section 80 IB 10 benefit that was given to developers. It was a tax incentive. If you built a certain number of small houses, you would get a tax incentive, and the rest of it, it was valuable enough for the most premium developers in the country to start building smaller housing units as well. Now, if every big developer builds a few smaller housing units, the logic was that we would be able to accommodate a lot more people of differing income levels into the same locality. But, what happened was profit always drives that business. And what was supposed to be EWS housing, which was supposed to be small format housing, small format also became premium. And the cost, there was no benchmark of cost. When the benchmark on PMAY's biggest success, I would say, was it was able to say that you have to cap it at this much, 15 lakh, 24 lakh, 45 lakh. They created a cap and said that whatever you build, you have to build within this. A few of them, Signature Global is a huge example that I like to quote. They came in saying that I'm not coming in as a builder. He was a financial services guy. And he said, I am trying to deliver housing to the market in the same, with the same efficiency that I can deliver shareholder value in the stock market. And it's the one company which was able to create a phenomenal IPO by creating affordable housing. His success rested on affordable housing, which means that if you do modular design, if you deliver good quality of products, not necessarily premium inputs, and if you do it on time every time, then you can make money off it. Why did everybody not catch on to this? I think it's because our policies were faulty. If we said that it was affordable housing, we had to ensure this is a kind of target audience which cannot afford any delays. But we allowed those delays to happen at the governance level. And I think if you fix that, that would be a big help. Another thing is that, I was, one of the publications asked me to study the areas that get waterlogged. For instance, Gurgaon, the golf course road, it has the most premium development. 130 crore one unit was sold last year. If the housing, same thing with Belandur. In Belandur in Bangalore, it was the most premium areas, the richest entrepreneurs were buying houses. But water came, and water is a great equalizer. It doesn't see which house is expensive and which house is less expensive. It flooded everything evenly. So why do those areas then, do the values fall? They don't. They fall at a certain period of time when it's raining. After the rains finish, in Delhi, in bulk of our country, it is 2, 3, 4 months of rain. After that, there is a section of people who will say that, I can't afford if it's very expensive. When the values fall, there'll be another set of people who will come. There are just too many of us. There will always be demand. No matter what the problems are, there'll be one category of people for a period of time. They are okay with being able to handle that income. I'll do that. And then another thing is that our development authorities have turned investors. There is, take Dwarka, take Janakpuri, take Rohini. These are all large subsidies which were supposed to be created. But the amount of that land that was utilized was very, very small. Today, Delhi's land pooling policy is not being implemented because there are a lot of people who don't want it implemented, including the development authorities, because right now they are sitting on lots of land. Dwarka is there, Rohini is there. When there is land and you release more land, the value of land will come down. Unless you create artificial shortfalls, the value of land does not become equable. And that's what's happening. And I think I agree with him that there is a hoarding of land which is responsible for the very high value of land. But there is one more thing. The demand for property or demand for land in certain areas is very high. If that demand is met, then it makes sense. But you can't say that a city had this much of shortfall. An area has a shortfall, a locality has a shortfall based on its economic potential, the commercial activity that it can hold. And that is what determines the different kinds of land pricing. One last point I'll make, with climate change, we have a lot of displaced people. Take Trivandrum, for instance. In Trivandrum, Thiruvananthapuram, you have a whole fishing community which has been upset because the sea has run over land. The city is losing land to the sea. Where will they be relocated? They were offered places away from the sea, but they're fishermen. They need to be near the sea. Can the city find more land near the sea to relocate them? I think it's a very complex issue about social, economic, and spatial equations, and you have to find those solutions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your brilliant presentation in a short time. I would now request Professor.
In fact, I was keenly listening to the presentations and I have got a lot of insights with regard to housing. I am representing the Kerala State Planning Board and the member in charge of housing. And we have initiated an ambitious program to provide shelter to the poor. And we have crossed the 5 lakh houses in the span of 6-7 years. But we have also faced so many operational issues as well as financial constraints. This was modeled after, maybe in fact, we wanted to integrate resources available to us. We made use of the PMAY urban and rural, but that money was absolutely inadequate for a person to build a house in Kerala. So the money had to be enhanced to 4 lakh rupees per house. And that money came from the local self-government institutions, particularly from the 3 tiers of rural governments and also the urban local bodies. Since we give as much as 30% of the total plan funds to the local governments are able to provide some assistance to the beneficiaries. And in place where there was no money from the local body, we had borrowed money from HUDCO, and the state government gave an interest subvention to provide this 4 lakh rupees standard unit cost. So what actually has happened is, since maybe culturally by choice, people want to get accommodated in single houses located in homesteads, and they did not want to go for complexes, housing complexes. So in these presentations, we have been talking about FSA, and maybe if you have more stories, maybe multi-storied buildings, you would be able to accommodate more people. But our experience is that people had hesitated to go over to these complex housing complexes. The problem being, maybe you can build a housing complex, but the cost of production or cost of construction of a housing complex is seemingly more than a single house. We have estimated that when the single house would cost 4 to 5 lakh rupees, a complex would cost you 13 lakh per unit. So this has been a great burden on the government, and we have found it so difficult to find resources. And also in a complex, we may have to provide them with other amenities as well, and also a group management system wherein people can live together peacefully, which would not lead to other issues later. So in fact, housing basically addresses not only a question of accommodating people, rather so many other issues are also associated with that. I think we should address those issues as well. And regarding availability of land, land is actually a constraint. As she said, we had a housing program for the fishermen community. We had opted for housing complexes. It was very difficult to manage fishermen and prompting them to live in housing complexes due to various reasons, because of their maybe habits, their occasional attributes, etc. In fact, what happened was they had to be placed at locations far away from the seashore, which created many problems. And tribals, for that matter. Again, that was a big problem for the tribals to be given shelter. So I think housing, maybe when we are not only talking about the urban centers, a housing scheme for the entire state, which is an urban sprawl. As far as Kerala is concerned, it is basically an urban sprawl rather than definite. I would not say it has got a cities with rural nature kind of thing, and vice versa. I think we have had this many, several new problems and new issues emerging in the housing sector. When you attempt to give decent houses to a large number of people, land actually becomes a constraint. And even though Kerala had already passed the land reforms, and we restrict people to hold more land than maybe the ceiling is 15 acres per person, but even then, getting land from people or maybe providing existing build spaces to people who do not have houses or homeless has been very difficult. It has been very difficult. And maybe we had gone for a campaign, just like a Vinoba Bhave's, Bhudan movement kind of a thing. If willingly, if you can give some land, particularly to corporate houses and also business houses and then landlords, etc. And we had been able to get only maybe 100 acres or so, which was, not even that, less than 100 acres, which was inadequate for fulfilling the dream of housing 6-7 lakh people. So these are all issues we right now face in Kerala. It is different from other places. In fact, we had initiated a program which is very ambitious. We wanted to provide 1 lakh house per year. And since the government had continued in its second term, that target would go to 10 lakhs houses. And the applicants are almost about 9 to 10 lakhs. We have been able to give only 5 lakh houses so far. And there is a growing tendency among people. See, when you get married and you become a single family, and he becomes entitled to get a house. So to what extent can we limit this kind of aspiration is another issue which we face. To how many people can we give houses after all? And how do you treat a family as eligible for a house? So these are all issues coming up. And in fact, we are confronting so many issues which we had not envisioned earlier. We are trying to find out solutions. These are all my initial remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for maybe letting us know about the Kerala experiment. And now I would like to turn over to Ranjeet for her.
Thank you. I want to bring you all back to PMAY. I think all of you are aware, Government of India has declared that in the next 5 years, 3 crore houses will be constructed. These are all for the economically weaker sections all over the country. I think it's about half-half between rural and urban areas. Now, the first letter that had gone to the states, the first problem they had, and the major problem that they had all mentioned was that where is the land for constructing these houses? And that was the point at which Mr. Dangayach and I met, and we had said that let's come up with an idea as to where the land is going to come from. And I would like to repeat what was mentioned earlier by many of the presenters, panelists here, that if we look systematically, protect the public areas and the common and the public lands that are available, the excess land and so-called waste land, quote unquote, we have enough land available in our states to construct these houses. Because this is not the end. The Government of India plan is, the national level plan is that no person will be left homeless in the next 10 years, which means that there needs to be an assessment. Which are these, the people who are actually homeless? Of course, we mean the people who are from the economically weaker sections. We don't mean the people who are living in a rented house. It's for them to decide when they want their own house. So this kind of an exercise, the first step would be to assess what is the requirement. The second step will be to plan out how will the requirement will be fulfilled in what time schedule. I think that is the plan that every state is required to do now. I have a suggestion that some very interesting ideas and suggestions came up here. It'll be very good if a base paper can be created, Mr. Dangayach. And because I think you mentioned that capital gains tax, I didn't know that it was so low in the country that...
and it's a fake number. You pay on 15 crore when you
yeah,
100 crore.
Yeah. So if we can make out a base paper on this, and also things like a tax on on land lying unutilized.
Yeah, like 2.8%, whatever.
So I think some kind of, this kind of, we need some kind of creative ideas. Otherwise, it will not be possible to fulfill the requirements. We are getting urbanized very fast, very quickly. By 2035, the projections are that almost majority of the country would be living in urban areas. So where do the houses come from? And that applies to the rural areas, of course. But the problem is more intense in the urban areas. So let's prepare that base paper, Mr. Dangaich, and take it up with the right authorities, because a lot of policy changes would be required. That's all I will have to say. Thank you.
We'll throw it open. Thank you very much. So we should, say, make a base paper or a white paper, and then, say, enlighten the policymakers or, enter into dialogue. And I'm sure some of these ideas are worth, really speaking, worth exploring. For example, rental housing or the hostels and things like that, which are not meant to be, providing quality, healthy housing to migrant labor or the people who don't want to really live in that city for long, as we discussed with Dr. Suresh, with Mrs. Suresh in the earlier station. All those maybe options are available, and therefore, I mean, we need to understand that a proper framework for rental housing is required. In Gujarat, for example, there is a rental housing where it says that if you have made a house after 2001 or so, so it can be straight away taken out of the Rent Control Act, and there can be contractual agreement. Now that kind of a thing can be done in other states also. Therefore, rental housing can become one of the media, and that will also attract a whole lot of investors, new class of investors who will be making only rental housing, and people who will be making only hostels. And this is the way so we can manage to provide a quality housing, because of the fact that giving a healthy home is great, for even the people who are in the HNI. If you are, the workers or service providers are not healthy, you are not going to get something like corona from them, or you are going to get so many infectious diseases. So it's necessary as a society, as a country, to see that everybody has a clean, neat, healthy house. So I would like, so now to throw the house open for 10 minutes. We have got enough for the questions. Yes.
Three ideas very briefly, less than a minute. Vacant land is an important one, which I had in mind earlier, and I'm happy after his presentation, I'm emboldened to say that. And vacant land tax should be an important component of policy interventions coming over there. Substantial amount of land, people get that land allotted. You see all politics happening already now in Karnataka also, how large amount are taken by various people on that. Please put that one. Vacant house tax is another one. Ostentatious housing being done, 2-3 houses, even large apartments over there. Only one bulb will be there, light will be there, one. All of those are just investment. They're all houses being bought for investment. And that could be another one. A third component of ostentatious housing. I was part of a housing policy chairman for Kerala once. At that point of time, the draft document, we wanted to say anything more than 3,500 square feet should be considered as ostentatious housing. That is a good one. Even the large family, now even those who have the big houses there, they don't want that house, they want to make a smaller house. So we want, but somehow or other when the government changed, that is Binay Vishnu was the housing minister at the time, I was the, that was got changed. When Mani became the new government, they ensured that the housing policy document, they removed that. Otherwise the ostentatious housing, taxation would have come over there. The idea is that, and bring that money not for anything, put that in a shelter fund. And that money being collected out of that will go to a shelter fund, which will be required for the housing for the poor in a large way. And as rightly ma'am has indicated over there, that particular thing on policy related issues on, I remember the capital gains 54EA and 54EC, all those particular clauses, we will bring it back as a policy document to invest into large amount of the in-house. Then land bank for the shelterless category is a very major component. And percentage, people have decided 10%, 20% of the houses, if they do large integrated township, at least so much percentage of the land has to be necessarily done. Unfortunately, all the other area, housing is only for, as I said, the rich and the middle income. And that's why the others get left out, no get access to land. And land is the most important component required for housing in a in a big way over there. So all these series of initiatives put together can give big thrills. As you rightly said, the housing policy under the PMAY, and now that PMAY 2.0 has come now, there are another 5 more years, another is going to be another 1 crore or 10 million houses going to get added. They are done about 1.2 crores or 12 million. They have done it in the last around 7 or 8 years time. It will get added. And I'm sure contribution from each one of the states is substantially large. They are combined very nicely, intelligently on that. Even Andhra Pradesh, Telangana has also combined under the PMAY program this housing under this category. Thank you.
See, under the PMAY, for Ahmedabad, our institute carried out the study for the municipal AMC, Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. Something very interesting we found. We didn't canvass to find out, we didn't do a survey to find out who want how many houses. Instead, we had a demand survey done. We only had in all the wards asking people to fill up the form and ask for demand. In most cases, what happened was around 60% of the forms that came asked only for in situ development, not fresh houses, and they didn't ask for fresh flats. So that was a very interesting case, and therefore the verticals about the subvention of interest rates and other things became very prominent. My suggestion is, it's the way in which I think we educate about even the policy and the program. When it was explained over 30 to 40 days, sitting in each ward, that helped a lot in people finding out which is the best of the vertical that they want and which will be the most useful. Nobody wanted a house, 3 flats in different places. That's how they said. And therefore, the PMAY 2 need not equate to the extra land and extra flats or extra houses that need be. So let's see how this could be educated and the different verticals are spread to people in order to find out this.
Hi, I'm Sanjana. I'm a PhD student. So my question is about the market for houses within slums itself now, which we are seeing growing. So despite it being informal, there's now like a thriving market, even a rental market within slums. And it's not only just people migrating to the city, but families are growing, right? Like there's a 3rd or 4th generation of people living there, and there is no hope to enter the formal market. The state and the formal property market have completely failed in providing any sort of affordable housing to large number of people. So, like Sir was mentioning also, there's just a lot of vacant housing which is there, which has become an investment market in places like Mumbai. So, to what extent can we even think of something like limiting ownership or like taking ownership out of the equation in big cities, and how can we center the use value of a house, like, and beyond the exchange value of it?
Or any other questions?
I can ask like this. Approximately what happens is, like in Hong Kong, so let's say you make whatever $20,000 if you rent your house. Hong Kong has a proposal, if you keep it empty, they want you to pay $40,000 in tax. Something like that. In Israel, they have the same thing. In Washington, D.C., they have tax on housing. If it is occupied, it's like 1.5%. If it is unoccupied, 5.5%. It has to be, utilization must be put at the center of the thing. I can give you
Absolutely correct. I mean, supposing we have got parcels of wasted lands. What I mean to say, that land that is surplus. And as the times are evolving, the purpose for which the land was acquired has also undergone a change. I mean, for example, say Tata Nano, they came up and they had 1,800 acres, let's assume. But they think that they would not like to put up an auto factory. Now that land use, say change must be allowed. With one single measure of allowing change in the land utilization, we can have plenty of land available for these programs, affordable housing, infrastructure and all that. And this is something feasible. We don't have to change the ownership. We have to only allow. The point is that we allow the current owners, current trustees to use that land for designated purposes. If that is done, believe me or not, we'll have huge amount of land coming from various industries, institutions, schools, colleges, Universities, we are sitting in this university, believe me or not, they have taken 1,000 acres. Flame University. Nobody has done the land footprinting for Flame University. How many students? For example, we found, the universities like, say maybe IITs, demanding 500 acres for what? For training, 5,000 students or 6,000 students in a year. They would be happy, doing that with only 50 acres. And I can tell you, I mean, comparing university footprint.
Yeah, I have, we talked about this. So he is in the board of University of IIM Udaipur. So they have 300 students and wanted 500 acres and they got it. I went to Harvard, 209 acres. Harvard University has 22,000 students. Okay, 200 acres. Bill Gates founded Microsoft there because when you don't put money into land, your innovation increases. See, I gave 10,000 crore to Anand Mahindra. He can barely buy land. If I give same 10,000 crore to Elon Musk, he will buy land with 100 crore and put 9,900 crores into developing the car. America is rich because most of the money that is not sitting in land creating slums. So for example, the latest company, NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is making a chip for $120,000. Okay? Let me take my coffee cup here. You know what, to create 100 crore worth of chips, you know what NVIDIA uses? This cups worth of sand. If you know that, how is our semiconductors made? Our semiconductors made, you know that, it's coming from sand. And that thing is barely, create, that doesn't happen because the land guys found out I can create slums and make money. People found the easy way.
So, I mean, you see, the students of economics understand that land is not increasing the GDP. Only when land is put to some constructive, creative use, it is adding to GDP. As a matter of fact, the investment in the land is an idle and a dead investment. And people are only trying to play upon that and in the process become idle. The innovation will come, the creativity will come, the value addition will come if we move away from land. And this is possible if, we are able to put that in the white paper, say that, we need to bring out. And this is something, which can really, maybe, go to show that we need to change our paradigm. Land is always going to be in shortage. Land is in shortage and land is always going to appreciate. Japan has shown 95% crash in prices in, maybe 5 or 10 years. So that is something which is, maybe there for us. And last but not the least, the way, maybe the whole economy is moving. When we are looking at, the changes in the kind of, work and, the workspaces, I think, we have to, to go for a kind of a planning which is dynamic and which is, really in sync, with the development. So please, yeah. So we have got 5 more minutes.
Yeah. When we talk about PMAY, beneficiary-led housing was the most successful part of PMAY 1. And if you look at the census that happened before that, census 2011, 2 big problems it addressed in housing was, one was decrepit housing and one was congested housing, both of which got addressed through PMAY 1. And but what we have not cracked is the, you gave more in FSI and so on. That didn't work. But if you just study what's happening on the ground, it's not that there's no housing being built for the lowest strata of society. What happens is if a pradhan has a land in a village, he is not within the planning norms of the city. So what he does is he makes 5 floors, he makes 8 houses, 8 rooms, and there is common toilet. He will not build it if it was not lucrative, which means that our planning norms don't make affordable housing.
No, very, very correct. That is why, if we are allowing, let's say, people sitting with surplus, wasted lands or wastelands to make rental or to make, maybe for sale, and, obviously put that in the market in a competitive manner, the change will be seen as in the case of the car. When, the cars, they were made by only 2 or 3 companies, totally throttled, totally controlled, we know what was happening. The moment, the cars were made by many people, or the very same thing with the electronics. So it's a question of throttling, creating the artificial shortages, which is responsible for the kind of artificially high prices of land and artificially high. The moment, people are allowed to make, and the regulatory process, and as the madam knows about very well, As a matter of fact, regulatory and the licensing controls are the highest in real estate, accounting for sometimes as much as 30 to 40% of the overall cost in cities like 30 to 40% cost is for the regulatory and XYZ. Now, if all those things are controlled, when we strip that off, you create, maybe a situation wherein, the demand is surpassed by the supply. Quality will improve, innovations will take place, and obviously the entire behavior will change. And as we know very well, we can't afford to only talk about the house along with the infrastructure, everything has to be done, which was there in the earlier session, which was on the carrying capacity of the urban areas. I think all these things have to be seen, but we have to think innovatively, we have to think creatively, and take out, all kinds of licenses, regulatory controls, hurdles, etc., and the sense of, obviously, corruption, because that is what is is keeping the policies also in the maybe in a different mode than what should be. Yes.
If you continue to
One more dimension.
Yeah.
You can also give along with that the components required for the house is individually built over there. You imagine as a product you put over there also makes it.
Yes,
in terms
yes.
of many countries have done that, particularly Sri Lanka has done that in a big way.
So-
Also Malaysia. Has
Yeah,
done
yeah.
that in a big
So
way.
we have
Building blocks required also to be supplied. So that's also an important component.
Exactly.
Pricing for materials.
Yes, Mr. Shailesh Agarwal was supposed to be coming for this. He is the one from Building Material Technology Promotion Council from the ministry, and obviously, he is the one who has done maximum amount of work on the technologies and appropriate solutions for India, prefab, modular, XYZ, entire set of technologies. So everything is available, technology is available, finance, can be made available the moment, we go for a different, the kind of, maybe mode of operation, and government, has to be sensitized that this is something, which can really, help India grow to a newer height, as, Srinu has, shown. So I think, we have a lot on our plate, and I would like to thank all my, colleagues here on the panel for, making this a very, interactive and a wonderful, panel discussion. Thank you so much.